All right, once again, we're on with John and Joe talking about both franchising opportunities and the Titus Center, the franchise academic, shall we say, center of the United States, and annoy some other people, John.
Thank you.
Well, you are, right? I mean, there are other academic programs,
There are.
but they certainly don't match the in-depthness or the breadth of, I think, of what you guys are doing down at the Titus Center. Am I
There
wrong
are.
on that?
There are some excellent centers at other universities around the country, and that's only happened in the last half dozen years. But what makes the Titus Center different is that I don't know of another university that grants a concentration in franchising. There are majors, minors, concentrations. And the concentration, once earned, goes on your transcript, and it leverages whatever your degree might be. Yesterday, I had a student who's majoring in elementary education, but she realizes that she might not want to teach forever and she might want to have a business of her own. She wants to be in the concentration. But most of my graduates have majors in a business discipline, marketing, management, international business, some finance and accounting as well. And I try to encourage that because every franchisor needs finance and accounting. And if they could hire a graduate who knows about franchising and they have an accounting degree, they're going to make even more money and probably get a much more interesting job opportunity with a franchise company than a non-franchise company. So that's what we do that's different at the Titus Center.
Yeah, I
Hey,
was I was
go ahead,
talking to
Joe.
someone yesterday, John, and the Titus Center in Palm Beach, Atlantic came up, and they called the program preeminent, the preeminent franchising program in higher education.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, but you're not
I'd
going to
like to
tell us
get
what
that as
was?
a testimonial to use on our website.
Well, I think it was me talking with John Quattrocci that wants to be on the board, so it might have been
Okay.
me saying that.
Okay.
No,
Well, that's all
just
right, Joe. We can use your name.
just before we get into the Meals of Hope franchise, I think Stephen, you were talking, or was it Jack? You were talking about that you had used some interns from the Titus Center. Tell us a little bit about your experience. Only tell us the good things. We don't
Yeah.
but an intern was no good at all.
Yeah.
Jack, what do we had? I think 5 interns. Is that accurate in the last
Yeah,
year and a half or so?
yeah, we've had great success with the Palm Beach Atlantic interns. Of course, we have a great relationship with John and the team down there. They've actually been a strong proponent for our brand and our opportunity. I think that the two organizations mesh well in terms of
Yeah.
purpose and so we found the students down there to be engaging, well spoken, very intent on helping. One of the great things about the program down there, they have a workship program, and a number of the workship students were at a packing event at Palm Beach Atlantic back in a couple months ago in October, and it was fantastic. I learned a little bit about the program, and I just think it's great. And our current intern is looking for an opportunity to do something further with the workship initiative. So, really, a great experience all the way around
Is really a
on
silent
that.
epidemic throughout the United States.
The internship and the school in general.
Yeah, it's nice that the kids that we've had, we don't have to really train them. They come into us with a great base knowledge. So all we're doing is talking to them about the particulars about our specific franchise, and then they go and run with it.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
It's fantastic that they're having, the background in franchising, so that when they walk into this different type of structure, that they understand the various parts, the moving parts, and what an FDD is and what an FA is, and the general lay of the land. That's just terrific. That's terrific. All right, we're going to jump right in. We're going to look at how long ago were you guys on the franchise hot seat? Was that 2 years ago? Or is it less than that?
It was a year
We
ago, I
taped
believe.
in December of
Okay.
22, and it aired in July of 23.
All right, we're going to look at the first couple of minutes where you guys are describing the franchise system, your role as a franchisor, the role of the franchisees, and then we'll come back. And that should take us about 3 minutes, and then we'll come back and get you to update us. And then we'll just brainstorm a little bit about who you guys now think might make good franchisees, some of the changes you have gone through, and we'll go from there. All right, here we go.
People don't realize how prevalent hunger is in the United States. So Feeding America, which is a food bank network, feels that 1 out of 11 kids are food insecure, and that 42 million people experience hunger in the United States at least sometime during the year. Well, Meals of Hope has a strategy and a tried and true methodology to combat hunger. And that's what we're trying to do, is if the more franchisees that we can get in, the more people will stop being hunger, and we'll end hunger in the U.S.
So once we determined that franchising was the best methodology for expanding the meal packing, we secured the services of the best franchise attorneys and consultants that helped us define a corporate structure that was appropriate for Meals of Hope nonprofit, but would also allow us to offer for-profit franchises. Now, the role of a franchisee in our system is actually elegant in its simplicity. There are 2 things that they do. They basically are after client capture, and then they shift to event planning. So client capture is about going out and looking for organizations like houses of worship, schools, businesses, civic organizations, anyone that wants to help end hunger in their community. We ask our sponsor organizations to do 3 things. We ask them to provide the location for the packing event. We ask them to provide the volunteers who are going to pack the meals. And we ask them to pay for the cost of the food that's being packed. Now, Meals of Hope provides, the nonprofit provides all of the warehousing, inventory carrying, logistics, transportation, all of that. So the franchisee then goes into event planning mode, and they are working to ensure that their sponsor organization has a fun, rewarding, essentially team building activity. And if they do, what we've found is that 70% of our sponsor organizations become repeat customers year after year. What is the opportunity for the franchisee? Well, we see it as from a number of perspectives. First of all, we're offering very large territories. We're only offering 64 territories across the country. It's a low initial cost, low overhead, but we estimate 100% ROI in 12 to 18 months. There's no employees required, no brick and mortar, and we do not charge royalty fees. But we do see it as at the end of their tenure, when they're ready to retire or sell out, that there's a very attractive resale opportunity, and that really relates to that repeat recurrent business or income stream. Much like an insurance agent that has a book of business that they would use to value their business, we see the very same opportunity for our franchises, that they would use that to value their business and reap a multiple of their franchise investment.
And so how does the franchisee make money?
So the franchisee, basically at the end of an event, Meals of Hope will invoice the sponsor organization. The sponsor organization pays Meals of Hope, and that because they're paying a nonprofit, they get a tax-deductible receipt, a donation receipt for that, the cost of the meal. The Meals of Hope then pays the franchisee a fee or commission, if you look at it that way, for having captured the client and run the event. And that's based on the number of meals that were packed at that event.
All right. Let's get all back here on the screen. So I think this is the first nonprofit franchise or deliberately nonprofit franchise. I've seen franchise stores that are profitable, but this is a tax strategy and not a business strategy. You guys want to make money, so.
Mike, it's a nonprofit. It's not making a profit.
Yes, that's why I say it's a tax designation.
Right. We are a 501c3
Right.
nonprofit organization that has figured out a way to offer for-profit business opportunities to our franchisees.
Is there anything about that that you want to update us on? I have some questions about the large territories, for example. Has anything changed materially?
Well, I could probably answer that. One thing that one of the bits of advice we got from John Clancy was don't limit to just 64, and so we took that input and discussed it with a number of people. And one of the things that we did decide to do is offer what we're calling pioneer territories. So it's a smaller territory at a lower initial franchise fee. And it probably makes sense to take a minute and step back and say that we came up with that 64 based on Steve's very strong belief that we should mirror the original territory, which was essentially Southwest Florida, sort of Tampa to Marco Island. And that was about 4 million people. Well, if you apply that to, say, Wyoming, you'd need to include Idaho and Montana in order to get to 4 million people. But that's obviously a huge geographic area. So when we had a candidate come from Wyoming and say they really wanted to focus on Wyoming, we did a pioneer territory. So the 64 is not hard and fast. That is one thing that we have changed. And we are continuing to look at that as, we talk to people, and we can, we have, because we're an emerging franchise, we have some flexibility to be fluid in the way that we define those territories. And we can work with our franchisees to define that.
And how many franchisees do you expect to have open by the end of the year?
Well, currently we have 8 franchisees, and we've done some working with some great people now. We've been a little bit difficult because our brand is so different than anything else in the market. It's very easy for a consultant to understand the concept of a restaurant or home improvement or a pet care franchise, but we are so different than that it is a little bit difficult for brokers to understand that. So right now, currently 8. I'd love to see us at add another 7 or 8 this year, and I think with some of the changes that we're doing, and have even more growth next year.
Well, let's spend some time on this business model and just walk it right through, because you're right. This is not something that you look at and say instantly, "Oh, I get this." I thought you guys did a good explanation on the video, but I still think there's moving parts in there that just because of the connection you've got the franchisor doing the invoicing, for example. That's not, and that's integral to the model because it's the franchisor who is giving the tax receipt. They're the only people that are capable of doing that.
Right, but also with that, for our franchisee, there's no receivables that they're working about, and
Yeah, no, that's right.
what's your aging look like?
Right.
So that that in itself is a wonderful benefit to our franchisees.
Right. There's no inventory for them. You guys, the franchisor is carrying the inventory. You're doing all of the product quality control, because the last thing you'd want to do is give food to a food bank and have a food safety issue. That would not be a good thing.
So we take care of all that. So
Right.
we're following lot numbers. We're following everything that a food bank is wanting to see in a supplier.
Right.
So that's the case. So as an example, we have, one of our franchisees has next week a packing event in Tennessee. They will bring their equipment to that event, and that's part of the franchise fee. But Meals of Hope will send all the ingredients necessary to fulfill what that packing event is planning on packing. And then what will happen is that the food will then go to the local food bank at a university. The kids will have a wonderful team building exercise. It happens that this is probably, I think, the third event that we've done at that university, which goes back to exactly as Jack mentioned, that we're running really successful, fun team building exercises. And when that happens, the host organization wants to schedule, additional events, and that's the benefit. And that's how our franchisees are building up a territory.
Yeah, the team building aspect of this, I really like this, because I think you could, we know that, corporations of a certain size are constantly looking for, fun team building events. And this one is sort of a team building event with a purpose, right? That
Right.
people could feel proud that they were not just doing silly things, but, taking some time off, helping in an organized way, and feel good about what they're doing, right?
Yeah, I think that the beauty of these, quite honestly, I spent 36 years in corporate America and, attended my share of sort of contrived team building activities.
Oh,
Right?
don't get Joe started on that. We'll never hear
Yeah.
the end of it.
So I think this is, the thing is, you kind of hit the nail on the head. It's a natural team building activity where people walk away feeling good because they know that they're doing good, and they got to do it with their coworkers, and they get to, meet and talk to their coworkers in a completely different environment. And that's really the way you get to know people. It's a much different environment than if you're in the office and you've got meetings and things to do. You can really get to know people. So we found that actually just this past year, corporations became the largest slice of our meal packing business because they are looking to engage their teams. Some are trying to get teams back into the office after the COVID thing. Whatever it is, they're really engaged in that. And so I think it's been a real positive thing with corporations.
I think the other thing that's interesting is, as a team building exercise, the impact that these groups have is really a huge impact. So in a couple hour packing event, literally thousands and thousands of meals will be packed. At the IFA convention, we'll be packing 65,000 meals. And when people kind of look at it and they go, how can you possibly pack that many meals? Well, it's there. We have 7 proprietary dry fortified meals that are very nutritious and taste good. So the food banks love them. But we set up assembly lines at a packing event. And as Jack said, within minutes of packing, it becomes your activity that each individual person, because it's in an assembly line, becomes pretty much rote. And so they're able to experience and have the fun, and literally people cheer at these packing events. They get so excited about the impact that they're having.
And John, you've been at one of these. Were you cheering?
Several. Yeah. Yeah. So
Several cheers and several packing.
yeah. We had one at the university last fall. We packed almost 50,000 meals, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
And
And
So-
we hope that's going to become an annual event at the university.
so I think one of the things about Meals of Hope, it took me a while to figure out, well, what is it exactly that you do? I like this idea of feeling good about what I'm doing. And I'm helping to feed people who are hungry by participating. Or if I'm the franchisee, I'm doing that every day. So the packing event, we did it under a tent and it rained. So good thing we had the tent, but you can do it in a ballroom, or you can do it in any large convention size or small meeting, even smaller meeting room. What's the minimum number at a packing event? 50 or 100 people?
So no, we'll actually do it because we know that small events turn into big events. So we'll do 20 people, and in 2 hours a group of 20 will pack 10,000 meals.
Okay.
So
And people also wonder, as I did in the beginning, well, is this bologna and cheese or peanut butter or jelly? What is this food? What is it? What's it taste like? You said you have a variety of meal.
So John,
plans.
we've now developed 7 dried fortified meals. And when I say they're fortified, we want to make sure that we're giving people, especially people who are food insecure, food that tastes good. But so many of the people that are food insecure are also facing an obesity issue because it's so much cheaper to go buy dinner in a brown paper bag and take it home, and it's empty calories. So we fortified our meals with 21 different vitamins, minerals, and additional protein. So the food is very nutritious and tastes good. So as an example, we do a dried, and as I said, of course, they're all dried meals. So we do a bean and rice casserole. We do a cinnamon sugar diced apple oatmeal. If you've ever participated in a food drive, you'd realize that there's very little breakfast items that are collected. So we have our oatmeal, which is very, very successful, and food banks wanting it. So we do our oatmeal. We have a chicken flavored vegetable and rice soup. We do a rice and lentil with a Middle Eastern flavor. So as I said, we do 7 different dried meals. And the idea is when our franchisees are getting ready to organize a packing event, they're contacting the local food bank and they're giving the food bank the choice as to which meal they want to receive. And I think that's really important. So we engage with the food banks right from the beginning.
Yeah. And then at the packing event, if people can envision, it's maybe 5 people, 7 people at the same table, which gives you maybe, if you're one of 7, 6 people who you don't know or don't know very well. There is time to talk, but you're packing these dried components of the meal, and then you're sealing the plastic bag that the ingredients go into, and then there's a guy who's doing labeling and putting them in a box. And it's not, concentration work. You one thing after another comes down the assembly line, and you got time to talk and tell stories and joke with one another and get to know people. So it really is a dynamic team building. I've loved every experience that I
And
had.
John, one of the things that's always fun at some of these, especially in some of these corporate events, is that it becomes a competition. So they're working in teams of
Yeah.
approximately 10 people.
Yeah.
And, they're looking across at the next table over, and they packed, 3 more boxes than you have. And so, come on, guys, we got to go. Got to work a little faster.
Yeah.
Many of our events have DJs or fast-paced music playing in the background, and it really is the importance of team building. Is so important. And as I said, we've had groups that have been packing with us on an annual basis, really, for the last 14 years that we've been around.
Mhm.
Jack mentioned we're an emerging brand, and that's an emerging brand in franchising. But what's important, and this is what our franchisees or potential franchisees, we want them to understand, is that even though we've been only franchising for a short period of time, we've actually been packing meals since 2007.
Okay. And in the tie-in with corporate America, corporations like team building events. So this is as much about team building, or so I think, as it is about providing people with nutritious meals. Those two go hand in hand. But as much as people want to feed the homeless and people who are hungry, corporations also want to get the benefit of their people getting to know each other better and building a team. So corporations, universities, organizations of all kinds are willing to say, we'll sponsor a packing event. So what does that cost someone?
So our cost per meal, and Jack, I apologize, don't want to spend all the time talking, but our packing events range in price from 32 cents to 39 cents a meal, depending on the size of the quantity.
So give us the round, the big number. Am I going to spend?
So $10,000 as an example, which is a tax deductible donation, all the way down, to $3,900. We've had groups that have said, okay, we want to pack 1 million meals.
Wow.
And we've had 4,000 people in a convention hall. We've done this numerous times. And in literally just over 2 hours, 4,000 people have packed 1 million meals.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think another point about the corporations, in addition to the fact that they're engaging their teams and they're getting a tax deduction, they're also associating their brand with helping to end hunger, which has tremendous, positive public relations. We always send out a press release and that kind of thing. But I just wanted to
Marco Island, your sponsor on Marco Island, when I participated, my wife and I participated last summer, was Bank of America. And it seems like,
Correct.
Are they 1 million meal packer?
Certainly, I think over the course of the years that we've been packing with them, absolutely. That happened to be, we packed two times that week, John. They were bringing people in from all over the country for an award purpose, and we packed a couple 100,000 meals that week with them.
So a franchisee has the opportunity here to go to ABC Corporation and say, I want to present something to you that if you participate in this, you and everyone from your company who participates is going to get a good feeling at the end of the event because you help people eat in our local community. And secondly, you're going to like this because you're going to get a tax break. This is a nonprofit franchise company, which is unusual. And the third thing is that corporations are looking for the team building, and they don't want to do it once and that's it. Like you mentioned, the International Franchise Association, Bank of America, these are repeat customers for a franchisee, which builds up their asset over a period of time.
one other thing, John, that maybe a fourth benefit is we put a sticker on every bag that we produce. It has a lot number and expiration date, but we also put on there, packed through the generosity, and I'm going to use one of your hot seat panelists, We Sell Restaurants.
Yeah.
So they've done I think 8 different events with Meals of Hope, and on every bag, especially in a local market where we want to make sure that if a corporation or any group that is helping their community, people in the community should know who is helping them. So Robin Gagnon from We Sell Restaurants, she did a wonderful job. But and as I said, in 8 different markets, they did packing events, and at every one of them, it said "Pack through the generosity of We Sell Restaurants."
Do you attract franchisees because this is a feel-good franchise opportunity, or because, more so they want to feed people who are hungry, or?
Well, the most important thing is our franchisees, potential franchisees need to understand is that they will make money having this franchise. So that's important. They're building a business. And Meals of Hope, one of the things that we've done over the last year or so is that we've invested dollars to try to drive business to our local franchisees, as opposed to just allow,
I think we lost
go
him.
out, find your own business. So we're driving business to them, and that's really important. But who our potential franchisees are? Yes, it's people that have a heart, that want to realize that perhaps they don't want to just be in the corporate rat race. They want to have their own business, but at the same time, they want to have a business that has an impact in their community.
I don't like this word absentee, but is this an absentee opportunity?
Yes, but I think absolutely, as long as they have a partner that is going to go out into the market and prospect for host or sponsor organizations to host a packing event.
That's an important point, because it's not magic. Just because you're doing a good deed in your community, sponsors aren't necessarily calling you and saying,
Oh, sure they are, John. Sure they are, John. Sure they are. They just line up. They just hear the Good Deed Fairy and they line up. There's a little phone call, Good Deed Fairy.
Yes.
And John.
Please give them our number, please, Michael. But I think that, John, what you're saying there is so important. Our franchisees are investing in building a business. And regardless of what franchise these people have, they have to realize it takes work to build a business. Now, Meals of Hope we are not interested in franchisees that are going to say, okay, great, glad that I'm now a franchisee, I'll talk to you in 6 months. That's not what we're looking for. We have a close relationship with all of our franchisees. We have regularly scheduled phone conversations as a group, but we're also talking to them on an individual basis. And honestly, if they have the opportunity of a large event, we'll come out and help them run that. So we're by no means are we throwing them to the wolves. We're here to help our franchisees build their business.
I think that if I could just jump in, I think that one of the things that really appeals to people is the fact that because it's no brick and mortar, there's no employees required, that, if you're not, say, open for business for a day, you're not losing money. Because your operating costs are very low, and you might have to replenish your tape or a couple of operating supplies, but you're not losing money when you're not, you can go on vacation and not have to worry about it. It's a really attractive opportunity from that perspective. And it is not necessarily something that you're doing 100% of the time. In other words, if you're doing 2 or 3 events a year or a month, per month, then you're doing pretty well. And you can do as many as you want, or, hopefully not too few, but, we do have minimums. But I think there's a lot that, appeals to people. And, that ROI that was referenced in the hot seat program is pretty much been our experience so far for the folks that have been engaged.
And Jack, you're actually a franchisee as well as franchise development.
I am, yeah. So we have the New England territory with my family. When Steve and I were developing this and talking about it, I mentioned it, and I have 2 daughters. My wife and I have 2 daughters, and they were really engaged, really love the concept, which I think is pretty consistent, and which is why we've sort of appealed to Gen Z through retirees. We actually have our first franchisee is a couple from Tennessee who have young children. They're homeschooling, and they wanted an opportunity where they could give back to their community, but also teach their children a business and possibly become a legacy thing for them. Mm-hmm. So it's really sort of resonated with a wide spectrum of people and situations.
Great.
Jack, what's the largest event that you did? I know it was in September. How many meals did you pack? I can't remember.
So one of the national accounts that Meals of Hope has is with the 911day.org group, which is the group that's responsible for making 9/11 Day a national day of giving, along with Martin Luther King Day. So we were fortunate enough to get the Boston contract for 9/11 Day, and we did 425,000 meals at the Boston University Agganis Arena. Had over 1,000 volunteers come to pack meals from a variety of corporations. We had 50 people from Delta Airlines dancing and packing and having a great time. They definitely had the most active group, Delta Air. So, we've done events of 10,000 and events of over 400,000, and everybody engaged loves it.
So how are you recruiting new operators? What's working, what isn't?
Well, we found that, Steve mentioned that the consultant network has been a challenge for us because it really requires a deep understanding of the model. Not that the model is all that complex; it's just very different than a typical, as Steve said, pet grooming or sub shop or what have you. So we've actually had pretty good traction with social media advertising that has driven people to our website, and working through that has really been between LinkedIn and Facebook ads, probably the most success we've had in that respect.
And you're using actual LinkedIn ads?
We
Yes.
are, yeah.
That's one of the social media ones we do.
Yeah, I looked at your franchise at your LinkedIn page. You don't have enough content, and given the amount of events that you guys are doing, given the amount of corporations, given all what's going on, you could pack it. You should be trying to get up there to the minimum recommendation that LinkedIn has of 1 or 2 posts a week. And just to get that, remember your LinkedIn page is a more interactive website, right?
Right.
It's where people you can talk to, and you've got some posts, and you've got. I saw the post with We Sell Restaurants, but you just told me that you did 9 events with Robin, and I think I saw 1 posted up there, right? So from us, and the reason you want to get that organic traffic is with the analytics that you'll get from LinkedIn. You're not going to get great reach anymore on company pages. In fact, you're not getting great reach on any posts these days, but you're able to tell which post will get you more reach. And you can say, oh, okay, so this one's resonating.
Yeah.
I can put some money behind that right now. And
Yeah, I think that's great feedback, Mike. One of the, it's clear that we have a content-rich opportunity here
absolutely.
in all of these events that we do and everything, and that's certainly solid feedback, and we do appreciate that. I think it's one of the things that we are really putting in our plans for 2024, including really getting Steve out in front of this. Steve's actually
trouble with Steve is he doesn't speak enough. He's too shy.
Right.
It's hard to get the guy to say anything, and he's very, very shy.
Is that why my page says mute right now?
Yeah. Well, Steve's a great, tremendous ambassador for the thing, and honestly, if anyone follows John Hayes, for instance, does a fantastic job with the 60-second videos snippets talking about franchising. If there anybody listening that isn't linked in with John or any of you guys, they should be.
Thank you.
And that's the kind of thing we really want Steve out in front, because he's our best ambassador, he's our best salesperson, and he's got a lot to share.
Listen, Jack, you have an intern right now, Ethan, one of my students. He knows how to post on social media. That needs to be part of the intern's job. They've got to do 2-3 posts a week for you. And these kids know how to do that stuff. Part of my success is because I don't do it. I have young people doing it for me.
And I'm certainly showing my age of how to do that myself. And heck, even getting on this podcast, Joe had to hold my hand in order to get there. But
I'll just follow up with John on your intern Nathan. If he's going to events, just take a snippet of the excitement, right? Get a few brands in there, get something going, make them do a few interviews, right? It's all very well, great to say, people are really like these team building exercises, but why not show it? Let's show what people are doing.
Absolutely.
Right. And you got the opportunity to do it, and everybody would love to, be seen on one of these short snippet videos. And there's just a whole lot as you build out your franchisor, you build up to various levels of paid and organic capabilities. You also have the capability to have a newsletter, which would be perfect. Right?
I think one of the things that's interesting is, Jack, you did an event in New Hampshire a couple weeks ago, and just from, because it's such a feel-good activity, we get an awful lot of local press.
Yeah.
And packing events build on other packing events. And I know that you've had certainly a couple inquiries about hosting, people wanting to host packing events in that area that really came out of that one event in New Hampshire.
Yeah, that's right. And that was a great event. That's a small private school that the students voted to do a service project on Martin Luther King Day, the other National Day of Giving. And so we did that event first time a couple of years ago, and we just did our second one. At the second one, I was able to share a story with the students there that after the first one, we did 35,000 of the bean and rice, and that all went to the New Hampshire Food Bank. about a week after the event, I was at the food bank delivering some other meals, and the warehouse manager said to me, "Hey, do you have any more of the bean and rice? We got that 35,000. It was gone in a week." And it that not only spoke to the tremendous need, but also the impact that 35,000 meals would go that quickly. But as Steve says, the press from that alone, this is up in the Lakes region of New Hampshire, and there's a large grand opening every summer when the Mount Washington boat launches, and so we've been asked to go up to do an event at that. So yeah, as Steve says, events beget events. I do an event for 2 years that came out of the 9/11 Day event, the first one we did. So that's how it works.
Think about how this works on LinkedIn, right? Suppose that your contact at Bank of America is HR person 5. I don't know what their title is, but right. So you do the event, you say really a lot of thanks to Bank of America and HR person 5, and LinkedIn is going to take, oh my goodness, someone pick that up. LinkedIn is going to find HR person 5's network to show your post to, right? And then other people in her position will say, or his position, likely a her, will say, I could do that. I could be that hero for our company, right? Mm-hmm. And, there's more than a few people on LinkedIn in HR. In fact, that's maybe the 95% of them, right? So because it's a recruiting platform, from your perspective, a lot of the people that you want to, your franchisees want to talk to are on LinkedIn, right? So it's just another avenue for them to make contact and keep in contact before, during, and after their event, right? So, and
this recording also, we have a lot of business consultants, franchise consultants, and brokers on LinkedIn, and perhaps we're helping them to better understand how Meals of Hope works, why it's successful, and why a lot of people would love to have this kind of a franchise if they just understood a few things that we've discussed here.
I mean, it is. I mean, it's nothing. It's basically a sales job with an event planning component.
Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Right.
That's exactly right.
And it's a nice sales job because you're selling team building exercises. That's a tough market, but this is team building exercises with a tax deductible receipt. Are you in? Yeah, I am.
Well, and then when we discuss it with host organizations, and getting back to hunger, because as a nonprofit, that's what we're trying to do, is trying to alleviate hunger.
Yeah.
People don't realize how prevalent hunger is. There is not one county in the U.S. that doesn't have a hunger issue. Not one county. So when we're talking to people about, let us help, let me tell you about hunger in your local community. Here's a great fun activity that has a great impact towards alleviating hunger. By the way, we're going to acknowledge you, and by putting, thank you for the generosity of whatever your organization is, whether it's a house of worship, whether or not it is a corporation, a Rotary Club, any group that you can imagine. We're gonna acknowledge them by putting their name on every bag. So the only real constraint then that people have is no one's going to want to say, nah, I'm not interested in helping people that are hungry. It's then, okay, how do we go about funding that? And Meals of Hope actually works with host organizations to help them with their fundraising activities. Some corporations just say, well, shoot, that's just part of the cost of the convention. or what have you. But smaller organizations as or houses of worship or Rotary clubs or other civic organizations, they do need some help of how do we go about raising the funds. And we have some very successful strategies for the host organization. So really, we can't imagine a whole heck of a lot of reasons why a group wouldn't want to pack meals.
But it's still, it's from the franchisees level, they're in sales. And even though you have a great product, there's a lot of other sharp people there with great products. So there's a tenacity, a following up, all the things that you'd expect of a great salesperson. That's what you're looking for.
Correct.
And you're looking for somebody, who on the side says, hey, I think I've got a special insight into selling this type of team building exercise. And I like to go to grand openings every day because that's what this would be.
But it's not a high pressure sale. Okay. As
Stephen, all sales are high pressure.
Of course.
Okay.
And that's certainly, and as I said earlier on, nothing's easy in life. Okay.
Oh.
You're building a business. You got to put in the calls. You got to put in the time and effort.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you guys said it at the beginning. This is like an insurance agent. Well, you know what? They get told no a lot, right? You guys will your franchisees will get told no, but just in a nicer way. Oh no, not now. Come back next year. Yeah, all right. So,
Right.
I mean, so there is I think a tenacity that's needed, or a stick-to-itness or a grittiness needed for this type of sales.
Right.
Joe, you've been awfully silent. What do you think?
Well, you guys are talkers, I'm telling you.
Oh, unlike you.
Well,
We're
I've
happy
got
somebody's
video to
listening.
prove how much I've been talking. No, I think in terms of the sales aspect of it, it is a hard sell in the respect that it's hard to explain. If you're calling up the regional bank and pitching them on doing Meals of Hope at their next conference or event or convention, what have you, there's I think a natural suspicion. Well, is this for real? What kind of scam might this be? And I think it's really the training that the salespeople have to overcome that kind of natural suspicion. I won't say objection, but the suspicion could certainly lead to an objection. But getting that down pat, that this is bona fide, we're a real nonprofit, look us up. We've done it for Bank of America. I mean, that kind of thing's like, oh, we've done it for Bank of America. Well, I want to hear more, because we're not Bank of America. We're just Hartford, County Bank. And we've got, a bunch of locations, but we do have a bunch of people, and we do like team building.
And Joe, really, we are more open than any private organization. As a nonprofit, our financials are posted on our website. So, there's something called GuideStar, which is a tracker for all nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we are very proud that we're a platinum member of GuideStar.
Mm.
So any organization that is this a fly-by-night one? We've been around since 2007, but also as a nonprofit, here's our financials. 96% of our expenses in our last audited financial went to hunger-related programs. So we have a big impact, but we're also extremely good stewards of any money coming into the company.
Yeah, another thing I do like about this from the food bank standpoint, food banks are misunderstood by many people. A lot of people think, well, if I just gather up the, green beans that in the can that I haven't eaten and out of date packages of pasta, and I drop them off the food bank, I've done a good deed. It's a real pain in the butt for the food bank to get all of this different kind of food not knowing where it came from. They would rather work with someone like you or get money from people and buy the food that the needy want to eat and fits into their supply chain. When you start thinking about a food bank as a supply chain, and then you plug in Meals of Hope, that's brilliant.
And Joe, you are hitting the nail right on the head there. We've actually had, we have food banks that are coming to us and saying, we have a group of 200 people that want to do something. We don't have the capability of doing it, but please work with them, because we also know that we're going to be the recipients of that food. And Meals of Hope, we operate food pantries. Now, that's not part of what the franchisees do, but that's part of what the nonprofit aspect of Meals of Hope does. And it is so much easier to get pallets of one item for distribution. We do food drives, and you're right. We always have a contest in May that it's the Postal Carrier Food Drive, and we'll get literally truckloads worth of food that needs to be then sorted. And we always have a contest to see what is the oldest out of date item that has been donated to us. And I won't tell you what it is, but it still says 19 as opposed to the 2000s on it.
Oh, nothing wrong with that.
Last year. But, you know, we work with the local food banks. They come to us. They're the recipient of the food. They're able to take it. It's all shrink wrapped, palletized. They come up and pick it up. Our franchisees aren't driving trucks. They're making the phone call and saying, we have a packing event at this location on this date. We're going to pack this meal. Will you need to come and pick it up the next day. And they say, thank you. So our franchisees aren't driving trucks. They are solely doing a sales job and then an event planning job. Once they've sold the host or the sponsor to do it, then they run a wonderful event for them.
Yeah, I mean, going back to what Jack said earlier about working in companies in his career, the idea of forced fun from the employee standpoint, and this is going to be team building, it annoys a lot of people. I don't know anybody who would be annoyed by doing this, and they would get so much more out of it. Doing some inane games that some PhD thought was a really, really good idea, then some marketer destroyed.
What's he talking about?
Hey, who's that boy talking about?
And to be able to do this instead, and I think you want people to work together. You want people to actually talk. You want somebody that's an accounting clerk talking to somebody that's a facilities manager, talking to somebody that delivers food delivers product on a truck for your company. This is brilliant for that. And when you're at the IFA, if the brands at the IFA aren't thinking about Meals of Hope for their conferences and their conventions, they're crazy. Because when I was doing that and hiring this stuff, so I was one of the culprits that hired the inane team building companies to persecute myself and the rest of the team. I would do this in a heartbeat.
And certainly other franchisors are a great opportunity for us to bring an event to them when they have an annual meeting. And you're right, Joe. I remember being at a team building exercise and we had to build a bridge using straws. And, and the group that I was working with, the conversation was, well, I'd rather be doing anything other than this. And that's not the case with Meals of Hope.
No.
All right, Jack, I'll give you the last word on this.
Well, I think that, we've covered an awful lot of ground. I appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to us, to give us an opportunity to explain what it is that we're doing. I think, coming out of the corporate world, as Joe mentioned, this has been a very rewarding aspect of my career, and I just thankful to have the opportunity to participate. Looking forward to IFA and meeting a lot of people, and hopefully folks watching that are going to IFA will come out and join us for some meal packing and some fun, and see what it's all about.
Yeah, our partner Ned Lyerly did the meal packing event down at one of John's events, and really enjoyed it. And he's going to be representing us at IFA, so make sure you catch up with Ned Lyerly while you're there.
Okay.
And he's in a plane right now, so he's not watching this live, but he will probably watch the recording of this.
You still get the last word, Jack. What would you like to say after Joe?
See you at IFA.
See you at IFA, exactly. Yeah.
And again, we can't thank enough, all the people at Palm Beach Atlantic.
All right.
And we're such strong
Thank you.
proponents of
We appreciate
what you're
you.
doing, John.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.